What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm going to do a recap, sort of Dune Prophecy, Season 1, Episode 4. I'm going to be honest with you and say this show has not whelmed me on any level. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm barely whelmed. I actually started out in the beginning trying to get really invested, and I listened to a podcast about the show. And I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get into this. I'm gonna get into Doom. I'm gonna get into Doom. We're gonna do this. And I really like what Denis has been doing with the movies. I'm not a deep Dune fan. Didn't read the book. Didn't see Lynch's film, but I love Denis Villeneuve. I think he's a top 5 director for me right now, to be totally honest. Like, I would have to think about that to like make that a firm decision. But Denis is one of those directors that when I hear he's on a project, I want to see the project regardless of anything. Um, and that to me, I don't question it at all. Like I'm just like Denis doing it, cool, let's do it. If I don't know if Denis was making what's that awful movie that Michael Bay is making with the toilet people? If Denis was making that, I would trust it. Michael Bay's making that, I'm like, no, that movie's gonna be terrible. But if Denis was making it, if Denis Villeneuve had bought that weird thing that's on like YouTube with the people who come out of the toilets, uh, you know what I'm talking about. If he was doing that, I'd be all over it. I'd be like, yes, this is gonna be epic. Because he's earned that level of trust from me right now, whereas some other directors do not. So, and I don't even like. It's not even like everything for him from is an A. I'm not saying like every single film is like a grand slam, you know, final, just best picture of the year type thing for me. But he's consistently delivered films that I've enjoyed. Every single film. There's not a film of his I don't like. So that's a sign. And really, Nolan has done the same thing. Christopher Nolan's done the same thing. It's when you make that first film that I don't like that puts the cake, that little like wrinkle, which I can say that for Spielberg. There are Spielberg movies I don't like. I can say that for Scorsese, but I can't say that for Denis and Nolan. And maybe time will tell. And maybe there is a film down the line, but currently it doesn't exist. So Nolan got really close with Tenet. He got really close. Tenet is by far the worst film that I've seen of his, but even with that, it's still okay. It's just it needs some love. Um, so with Dune Prophecy, I don't know. I don't know what to say about the show. And this is more like a review than a recap at this point because we're in the 4th episode. I still think the cast is too big, and now we're doing things where I'm like, what the fuck? Like if you got to the end of the episode, by the way, spoilers because it's a recap. Why else would you be here? Um, God, recaps would be really hard to do if you didn't spoil anything. Like, what would you talk about? You'd be like, well, there was an episode and some things happen and some people and no, the recap. So spoilers are insinuated. The dead end of this episode had me going, what the fuck? I didn't even fully understand like how or what was happening. Um, that dude became Theodosia? Theodosia became the dude? I don't know, but his like face melted away and then he became Theodosia and then like Theodosia was changing. I was so confused. I was so confused in the final moments of this episode. I was like, we have shapeshifters now? Or is this part of their witch power? Like, because they seem to have abilities, like things that they can do. Like when she talks in her, when I never remember her name, so I just keep saying like something like Valeria or whatever. I want to say Viserys from Game of Thrones, from House of the Dragon. Um, but when she uses that voice, obviously, that's sort of like her ability is to compel people to do things. And obviously, I forget his name, Travis Fimmel, um, has the ability to melt people, but it also melts him, which is really interesting because that's something that I would love to see. But also, I really want him to have more than that because now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, so people keep watching him do this, and it's obviously like a horrifying way to die. And even the people who are on his side or he is on their side, it's sort of like a horrifying power to have around. And it's like you have the opportunity to corral that and to get rid of him while he's not paying any attention. Like he was locked away, you know, because now he can burn like multiple people simultaneously, and uh, the extent of which you don't know how far his powers go, and he doesn't seem to be able to do anything else. Like I really would love to see him like stare at a log and see if it'll catch fire. You know, like can he start a fire in a fireplace? Like what do his does he have any other useful abilities other than boiling people? Because they all die the same way. So it's not like you can't say that he's like telekinetic or anything like that. He has one useful ability, and that's it. He also seems to be impervious to witches' charms. I'll say that. So, but we get another boiling person sequence, which is again like I'm like, well, the I don't know that the movies would have this, but um, welcome to HBO. So it's not TV, it's HBO. Actually, it's Max or HBO. It was Max, and then it was HBO, so it became HBO, just like the Penguin did. So we only have 2 episodes left, and I honestly, Viserys was trying to get this, uh, the whale guy, the whale seller, Hawk or something like that. I don't know what his name is. A spot at the council so that she could have a new house that's backing her. She's like, well, what if I could get you then you'd have the as your truth sayer, and she wants to back a new horse basically. And the old guy who's uh, I don't know, somehow alive, is like, she's just gonna stab you in the back. Ah, ah. None of that really happens. Basically, we all just lead to this moment where she was going to have him put forth these people who were like traitors, essentially, so that way it would be his way of earning his spot. Like he had uncovered this plot, this dangerous plot, but then uh, again, Travis Fimmel, I forget his name. He had Dominic or Duncan. It's not Duncan because Duncan's the one that's in Dune. Um, Comes in and burns them. Mark Strong is just sitting there watching, like, and what ends up happening is because it affects him, he's bleeding himself because it burns him too, and Valeria gets a little bit of that blood, and that room of genealogy that they've alluded to a couple times now. They're like, well, take it down there and see if we can figure out who this guy is. So, but he keeps seeing this like sandworm dream where the sandworm swallows him. So we see that and these blue eyes, and so that's probably the thing. He has this speech where he talks about like all these things that can kill you out there, but that the soldiers are happy when the sandworm comes because it scares everything else away. And weird way to put it, but I mean, this guy was like the one who was eaten and then like survived it. So I guess for him, like the experience was not as bad as for people who don't come back from being eaten by a sandworm. So now he has this new outlook on life, and is trying to get Mark Strong to rule with an iron fist, and he's just going to burn the people who, he's trying to like scare them. But at the end of the day, you realize he can't do this much longer because it'll kill him as well. Like he takes damage when he hurts other people. So, whereas the witches don't seem to take damage when they use their powers, which is different. Um, there's back with the witches, uh, the sister, Tula, is teaching an art class. um, where she has all of the girls have all had the same dream, and so she has them all in this weird state, and one of the other elders is like yelling at her to get her to stop, and they all draw the same thing, which is this like well, and they're all in like this like fever dream state, and even she can't even break it until it's done. Like she's trying to get them, she's like, okay, come out of it, come, leave, draw, stop. She can't get them to stop. They have to like finish drawing the well, but they all draw the same thing, proving that they all have the same dream. Um, then later on, we see this sequence where there's this old lady that is like yelling. She's like, "I'm going to expose you. I see. I'm not as easy to get rid of as Dorothea." And she just like slits that woman's throat. And she wakes up, and maybe it was all a dream, because she's in the room like the girl that was in the spice chamber. I guess that's what we're calling it. I'll call it that. Um, from 2 episodes ago, because the agony did not work out well for her. Her chamber is open. She's not in anymore. So presumably she's, I don't know, a zombie now and walking around eating brains. That's probably where I'm assuming the show is going. So we'll see next episode. I'm not loving the show. It doesn't feel like it's the best companion to Dune, and I'm actually kind of worried that Dune Prophecy is actually sort of hurting Dune 2's chances at awards. I'm worried that people are watching this and being like, the movie's better. And it kind of feels like maybe we should have waited until like 2025 for Dune Prophecy. Because it's not like Dune 3 is coming out next year. So there's no rush. Like, you could have put this out in 2025 and waited until after Dune had its... I think they legitimately thought this was going to help, like, revitalize Dune and the thoughts around Dune. I don't think it's doing that. The problem is it's following The Penguin, which just got all these Golden Globe nominations. Rightly so, for series, for Kristen, for Colin. So, although they really should have nominated the actress who plays the mother, who played Penguin's mother. I can't think of her name. For supporting, but Gold Globes are weird because you have to put supporting from comedy, drama, and limited all in the same, and you only get 6 spots. So I'm not holding it against the Globes for not nominating her. I try not to take the supporting categories too seriously, unless there's just like a nomination that's just like way out of left field and doesn't belong there, like Javier Bardem for Monsters. But yeah, it was a wasted nomination. But yeah, Dune didn't get anything. Surprise. At least House of the Dragon still got a nomination for Emma Darcy. So, but yeah, Dune can't claim that it has any nominations. Penguin can. Penguin got nominated. So, I just don't think this is hitting the same way. And I don't think I'm alone in being it's not great, but it's not bad. It's just not really doing much for me. So I'm not excited to watch Dune Prophecy every week. And that's why my recaps are very sort of lackluster, is because normally people who recap shows are like, yes, I really want to talk about the show with you and have exciting and all this fun time. But honestly, the show's a little bit hard to follow. It's not really the fault of the audio description. I think the audio description is trying to do a really good job here. It's just there's a broadcast. It's very science fiction, which is already sort of hard to do because you have to describe a whole bunch of things that have no basis in reality. And then you're giving these people powers, and it's like, well, how do these powers work? There's so much stuff here to like explain and to go into that you feel like you need like an encyclopedia just to watch the show. Aside from just the movies. And we can't expect everybody to read every single book. Like, that's not a thing. Dune would not have made the money at the box office if it had been shot. Dune and Dune 2 would not have made money at the box office if it had been shot in a way that would have been alienating to people who didn't read, the source material. Much like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. If you think that those movies were that the only people who made those movies work were people who read the books, you're wrong. Same thing with Harry Potter. I mean, you have to find a happy medium. And this one instead feels like I absolutely am missing something going into this. I feel very lost. So, and it's impeding my ability to enjoy. Is it because I'm blind? No, because I enjoy plenty of sci-fi work all the time, and action films and horror films and films that are very visual in nature. It's just the way that the show is structured. The way the show is trying to do too much in 6 episodes, and it should have felt like it had either a narrower story. Somebody needed to say, okay, let's bring it down. You're not Game of Thrones. You're not going to accomplish what Game of Thrones did in 6 episodes. Or give it more than 6 episodes and let it really breathe. Let the life flow from it. But I don't know. This isn't working for me. I'm going to continue. It's probably going to continue to drop for me. But I'm going to give Dune Prophecy Season 1, Episode 4 a B-. That's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.